What is going on, guys? Welcome to Double Tap. This is Mash Those Buttons podcast dedicated to the FGC. I'm, of course, your host, Crash, and with me, I've got my cameos 1 and 2, Static Gorilla and Meza in the building. What's going on, fellas?
Hanging in there, I think.
It's the Monday. He's got to hang in there, I guess. Yeah, we're still here, so it's a good day. It's a good day. Welcome, guys. Welcome, of course, to another episode of Double Taps, the podcast dedicated to everything and anything in the fighting game community. This is episode 347. For those that are chilling with us here on twitch.tv/Double Tap FGC, appreciate y'all. And for those that are listening on your favorite podcast platform of choice, thanks for giving us another quarter for another credit this week. Or unless you're new and you're just trying out the machine, this one's on us. So we've got some things to talk about, man. Well, or rather, we've got a very interesting episode to get into this week. First thing I want to actually start off with is, of course, our previous episodes, question of the week, and of course our polls. So we had some pretty good discussions last week on a couple of interesting reveals that happened. Right, we had, of course, the final character of Tekken 8. That was revealed over the weekend, and we covered it on the following episode with Reina, right? The purple lightning, as she was called. But a lot of us were some of us were like not really surprised because, like I said, we kind of had those leaks early on. But to actually finally see her showing off and to see what she's going to be bringing to the stage, we had to come up and ask you guys your thoughts on Reina. And if she was going to be a kind of like a worthy input or a worthy entry into the Tekken legacy at this point. So we asked, do you approve of the final character, Reina? We had yes, we want tomboy supremacy, or no, where is Heihachi? Overabundantly, we've got about an 87%. This is including both our votes on Twitter and, of course, on Spotify, because Spotify does have polls, guys. But on Twitter, we also took it there. We got about an 87% of yes, we want the tomboy supremacy, which, you know what? I don't think there's anyone here that's going to argue that one. Meza, are you arguing that one?
No, I think it's just we needed a new character, and this is still staying in line of having somewhat an original character, but also an old character. So okay. She's technically Heihachi, but just
a new look. Yeah, a fresh take on an old classic, right? What about you, Static? How you feeling?
No, I voted yes. The design is dope, as we stated last week. But like for me, even when I heard that it would be maybe a Heihachi clone, and then I heard the song being like a Kazuya mix, Kazuya song.
Yeah,
and then I just noticed now like the Hell Sweep.
Yes, that's
in the part only because I was looking at the background and thought I saw Blanca, but I knew it wasn't.
Yeah, I got caught too.
Yeah, so my thing is, I never really, even in the first iteration of seeing the trailer, I never really saw Heihachi until like the end of the trailer where it shows his face kind of. But I never really like put it two and two together. It never felt like a clone. So that's just
I think it's a good twist to a classic character. The design grew on me. At first, I thought she was basic, especially if you check out our last episode where we kind of break it down and we kind of look at all the moves and the similarities she has with other characters and movesets there. At first, I was kind of a little like, oh wow, they brought the ISO from Valorant in here. That's pretty cool. But the design grew on me, and I'm digging her a bit more. So good to know. I guess our audience is on that too. But for those that did want Heihachi, sorry to say about what Harada said, but it is what it is. He might be completely dead, but he kind of lives on. Quotations, maybe. We'll just have to see. So with that, we do also have our question of the week last week, which we were talking about Grand Blue, right? Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising, the beta. Those that had the luxury, that had the time to actually get in and play. Not all of us, unfortunately, here were there for that. But we did ask you guys just your experience. How were you feeling about it? Did you like about the game? And we just got an amazing amount of replies on our Discord. Remember, you can join this Discord at mash.gg/Discord. We've got a bunch of our awesome listeners just kind of putting in their 2 cents, how they're feeling about it. The netcode feeling that it was good enough. The game feels a bit, to some it might feel a little bit clunky, a little overtuned. Getting KO'd in like 2 combos feels a bit bad, but it's It's a give or take. Some characters are a little tankier than others, right? It's kind of like the way it goes. But the netcode was the main thing, right? The netcode I was just hearing was pretty consistent, that people were just liking it. They were enjoying how it was feeling. So that's already a huge upgrade, right? That's kind of like one of the big cornerstones that we were really really looking at to make sure this game is viable, right, in this new age of fighting games. And yeah, I mean, some of the other ones were kind of, you know, typical. Like, yes, the corner being scary. Don't want to be in the corner, but then again, in any fighting game, you never want to be in the corner, right? Don't put baby in the corner. That's just what you don't do. And in this game, it seems like it was just as much. One thing that surprises me, though, is I didn't hear a whole lot about kind of like mental stack in the game. You know, we kind of had that discussion a little bit about how, like, there's just a lot of layers in the game. There's a lot of mechanics. There's a lot of things to take care of or take a note of. And this game, I think, probably, in my opinion right now, what it feels like, probably has the most mental stack, considering how fast it is, too. Because it is also, there's one thing to have a lot of mechanics and have a slow game, but it's another to have a lot of mechanics and have a fast gameplay at the same time. Like, those two are vastly different. I don't know how about you guys, but there's a hell of a difference in my opinion when you're playing those two kinds of games, and you say you have the same like 4 or 5 mechanics. Like, they're gonna feel very, very different. They're gonna feel very much like you might be suffocating in one more than the other.
I definitely, my experience is the mental stack does happen. It's not very fast at first, but because everybody's still learning. But I noticed when I play somebody who was better and more acquainted with the system, it became extra hard. Like, there was times I was like, "Is that plus? No, that's not plus. But why didn't I hit anything? Wait, why am I in the corner? Wait, am I just letting them jump in on me?" Like, there's a lot of things that just start stacking up once you play better players who either have played Grand Blue for a long time or have adapted to the system very, very fast. And I know, like, for me, certain characters that I played, I was like, all right, I guess I just have to play a different character because I'm thinking about 30 different things. So let me play a character that's easier.
Yeah. So besides that, just getting a couple other notes. I mean, unless you got something static.
I was just going to say, can't you roll out the corner?
You can. You can also get ripped.
You can also dodge, right?
You can also dodge. Yep. You can also block. You can also jump.
I will say this. For those who think you can roll out the corner, it's probably the worst idea you could do because of the new enhanced, EX moves. I highly don't suggest it, especially against certain characters. That's what they're built to do, is to stop that. But, I mean, like I said, you play more experienced players, you're not going to get that opportunity to really roll out of the corner, because rolls are kind of bad, and they've always been bad in Grand Blue. They're kind of just to roll projectiles or dodge them for specific strings. But like, dodge is very strong. I would say that dodge is very strong, but you're gonna find a lot of situations where you are guaranteed you're not dodging. And just as an example, real quick, would be Beelzebub. He has a new enhanced version of his pull, his vortex. Originally, it used to just make you kind of like break your guard a little bit, but he really wouldn't get much, like standing light. But now he has the EX enhanced version. Guard breaks you no matter what, and then automatically takes like 30% of your life. And he can't do anything after it. But the scary part is people have found setups where they do they knock you in the air, do full charge his projectile, and you have to block it. You can't spot dodge, because spot dodge actually isn't frame 1. So you have to block it, and then he instantly, because it has multiple hits, he instantly does the EX, and it's guaranteed for him every time.
Yeah, imagine if he was like Tager, where he just zoom, boom, brings you in. No.
Don't tech. That's that rule. If Tager does that, don't tech. The moment you tech, you've already messed up.
GG next round. All right, so just running out a couple last of the other notes here, because the cool thing is, first of all, I want to give a shout out to our awesome listeners, our awesome Discord members as well, for also kind of they were also jumping into like the Unis 2 beta and trying to make a comparison between the two. Some are stating that they're feeling that that Grand Blue maybe has a bit more of a casual audience feel to it. The game felt much more active and ranked as well, which is good. But between the two, they felt like Eunice was kind of, the Eunice 2 beta was a bit more hardcore, which I mean, yeah, like if you're waiting for the Eunice 2, like, yes, you are. These are the more of the hardcore variety for sure. Like there's just like no two ways about it. But I'm still happy to hear that Grand Blue still ended up getting a really good kind of feedback from it. Hopefully the surveys that also come from it also help, and I'm hoping that they also show it off, or rather show off that feedback in the future and take that into account very, very seriously, and as much as they can, because remember the game is coming out December 13th or something like that. It's like 2 weeks, 14th, excuse me. It's 2 weeks. It's all right, not 2 weeks, like more than 2 weeks, like 3 weeks now, but it was from the delay. Technically we would have had it, I think, this week coming up if it wasn't delayed, but it's fine. You can fine tune it. Ain't nobody here is going to really be hurting about that. People are just going to be counting down the days until they actually get to sit down and actually play the game again. In the meantime, though, there is one aspect also that I want to say. Also, actually, before I get to that aspect, thanks again for everyone that voted. Thank you for everyone that actually participated. We do this every week. We will have a new poll and a new question of the week at the end of the show, or rather at the a later segment of the show, because we do have a special episode this week. And that's actually going to be what we're going to be talking about next. And we've been kind of quiet on this subject when it kind of happened. We've kept an eye on it, but it was because generally we wanted to kind of let things I don't want to say blow over. It's more we want to let things settle, like, right, let the stuff cook for a bit so we can actually talk about it once the kind of the shock of it hits. And also, if you guys haven't remembered, about a while back, around October 24th, Nintendo posted up some community tournament guidelines, and everybody kind of freaked out because of just some of the things that were being said on it. Now, TLDR, some of the things were might have seemed a little worse than they were at first, but now that time has kind of passed a bit, and the dust has settled, we can sit down and really take it for what it is and see if it really is something that maybe the community can benefit from, or if there is some insight there that we can talk to when it came to those guidelines and how it really has affected people from different perspectives, whether you're a TO, a venue owner, a player, all that kind of good stuff. And just with that, we were lucky enough to get someone with a great understanding on things, a great history with fighting games, or specifically with Smash, and does have a unique perspective on that matter. So we do have an interview with Moosh, who is a local venue owner, TO, player, local to us, but he's been around the block for quite some time. So I'm not going to say he's never been outside of the tri-state area. I'm pretty sure he has done a lot of things. He supports a lot of games. And like I said, he's a real one. And we got to sit down with them and talk, or rather me and Gabe did. Meza wasn't there at the time. This is like a little bit of a playback. And also, it's going to look weird if you're watching us or on Twitch, or if you're watching us on YouTube, double tap FGC. You might see that you can't see my face. It's because I didn't have my glasses at the time. I lost my glasses for like 2 weeks. Y'all know I don't put myself in front of the camera unless I got my glasses on. So my camera's not messed up. I was just camera shy. Leave me alone. Regardless, we're actually gonna take there's gonna be a quick pause right here. We're gonna have a quick ad break, and when we come back from that ad break, we're gonna be checking out the interview with Moosh. All right, so don't go anywhere, guys. We got some deep conversations about Smash, because those are our brethren in the fighting game, so we gotta give some love to them and talk about this. So we'll be right back after this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Thank you, Pass Crash, during the live show for that quick segment. We are here with an awesome interview. We do have a community member to talk to. We might have realized in the past couple episodes we've been a little bit silent on this topic, only because we're kind of been biding our time a little bit due to just the kind of the sheer impact of, or the news, the kind of shock value of the news that went down over in the homies with the, in the Smash community. We're bringing in a community member, a TO, not self-proclaimed, I'm pretty sure he's being called out by Static Gorilla as the best N64 Smash player ever. Venue owner, overall, some, like I said, a community member that's holding up a lot in his scene, in his area, and it's actually local to our area. Co-owner of The Lab. We've got Moosh in the building. What is going on, sir?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
No, appreciate you coming on for sure, man. We're very humbled whenever we get someone to spend a little bit of their time hanging out with us and our awesome listeners to just talk, everything fighting game related. But so for those that aren't aware of who you are, if you can give us a quick 2-minute. Give us a 2-minute history, kind of like a character bio. If you were on a character select screen right now, if you want to put your weight and height in there, go for it. Throw that in there. Yeah. But other than that, give us a quick rundown on yourself and your history with the fighting game community.
Sure. I'm the owner or co-owner of the laboratory. I co-own the business and the venue with my wife. I've been in the competitive scene, I would say, since 2004. I competed in Super Smash Bros. Melee, played with some of the greatest. In all around, traveled a lot for the game, and I played every fighting game at least once, but mainly it's been platform brawlers and Smash that just kind of clicked for me, and a little bit of Third Strike. But that's kind of like the summary. I've been running the lab since 2015, so a little over 8 years, and we've been hosting. Basically, it's like home base for Smash, but really it's like it's an FGC. It's a venue that supports specifically the FGC. We try to host all sorts of fighting game events. It's a lot of Smash Bros. Obviously, Smash 4 and Smash Ultimate have been the one that have been drawing in the most and the largest crowds, and that's kind of what kept us going. And then just doing everything little by little, adding events in here and there just to try and like cover all the scenes as much as we can. That's been a big help in keeping us going and giving the community a place to compete every week.
Yeah, and that's like a super important thing to have. Is just no matter the size, it could be your friend's house, someone's basement, right? To just like kind of kick things off, a place that people can really call the home for competition. And the last, like you said, it's been in the works for like how many years again?
8. So it was October 2015.
October 2015. Like I remember when I first started hearing about the lab, like because Philadelphia area, tri-state area, like everybody tends to know the different spots to go to, and the lab has always just kind of been like, even though, like I say, kind of like was big on the Smash scene, you've been trickling in and adding more support for more communities. You've been adding more setups. I mean, you have PC setup and consoles, right? It's not just like a console-centric kind of lab, right? You do have setups for PC. Right. So, for your PC elitists, not elitist, excuse me. I don't want to make it sound like it's elitist. I play on PC all the time just because it's very convenient. But it's, it's an optimal way of playing, right? There's been that whole discussion for years. You have that there. You meet those requirements there. You tend to have a couple cabs lying around too, right? You have like the 1-up cabs and stuff just to throw in some OG games as well.
Yep.
So and an entire stream setup too, right? You have an entire stage that you're sitting down and you're actually just you got multiple cameras and you're just making sure you're putting out the VODs, right? The tapes that people want to have when they actually go out and compete, so that way they can look back on it. And mind you, also these guys upload like we're talking like that. Like a match gets done, like those matches are up within like the minute. So this thing is a well-oiled machine for sure.
I remember, if I can say, I remember one of my first times was going with my buddy Pedro to the tournaments, and I was like, I wasn't bored. I was playing Melee sometimes, but then I was like, hey, you mind if I think I asked you, I was like, you mind if I bring my Street Fighter and my Xbox? And he just let me play in the other room, and whoever wanted to play played. And I think that's where I just started getting to know you, and I was just like hanging out with you guys. That was when it was in the parking lot, the Annex, I think. That other
that's like pretty much how we started, right? Just like running like a monthly. I forgot about that.
So many events, so many players coming through, right? It gets crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy how long I've known Gabe for like longer than I lived in the lab. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it was from there, then over to the now an insurance building, a couple blocks over. Yeah, and then now it's the legendary lab. I say legendary. I'm just gonna.
No, it is. I love. I before we started this recording, I kind of had to just admit to Moosh that I enjoy the venue. Like I am much of a. Don't get me wrong. This doesn't mean the place is gritty, but I love the gritty feel of like it's a hole in the wall spot that you could just go and play games with someone. You just have to know, like the spot, and I love the vibe that I always get at the lab. I don't know. There's just something. It's just so grassrootsy, but it's still so well done that like it can't really it doesn't disappoint you in any way, shape, or form. So definitely one of my favorite venues to go to when I can. There's tapes of me playing there. You guys can go search that. I've definitely been there. But so besides the lab, of course, you're helping with TOing. You are just helping with any kind of events that are coming through. You're supporting multiple communities. But kind of the biggest one, like you said, right, was Smash. So that's really the main point of kind of this interview that we wanted to sit down with is, of course, what went down about 2 weeks ago ish, right? Like, October 24th was when it was, I believe the initial publish of it. But Nintendo's community tournament guidelines that kind of hit everybody out of left field a little bit. And, the initial shock was kind of crazy, right? You had the just initial shock factor. It's over. Locals are done. This is that. The rain, the fire is raining from the sky, all this. Since then it's kind of calmed down a little bit, only because you got to take a second to really read into like the specifics of what Nintendo's really asking for. And I want to pick your brain about it, man. I want to pick your brain on your thoughts about it. So I'm gonna kind of like just pull off just a couple of things for those that aren't initiated, right? There is a guidelines that you can just go ahead and get. That's for everyone to obviously read. So if you're ever looking to actually run a Smash Brothers tournament in any way, shape, or form, these are the guidelines you should be abiding by. They're not law, but it's Nintendo. They tend to try to keep a close eye on things, especially when they get bigger, right? That's when they start, getting on the radars, when, you might see them intervene. So the community tournaments guidelines, more or less are kind of affecting more of the small scale. The Nintendo licensing is nothing new, right? We've known about the Nintendo license that you've had to do with majors for quite some time now. It's been several years as it is. But this one more affects the small because it talks about things like, you're allowed up to 200 people in an offline event, 300 online, right? It's kind of like the max cap you get to it. And this is all, mind you, without a license. Once again, everything we're discussing is without a license, unless the conversation goes otherwise. And certain other criteria, of legal age to run a tournament, right? You gotta be like 18 and such. You can't, entry fees are no more than like $20. More or less, it's kind of averaging. They kind of gave us a couple of different numbers, but that's like more or less what it's there. But things like payouts, right, are other things that kind of maxed out for a tournament to kind of give out per year, right? I think they stated 10,000 in a 1 year max payout. I'm not gonna go through every single one, but I just want to pick your brain, Moosh, on the ones that kind of like stuck out to you when you first like saw the guidelines. Like, how were you? What you think about them as a, like I said, a venue owner, a person that's wants to bring more people through the door, right? You want to bring, to any event, you want any event to be successful, but it's also a business side of things where you want to have people come through the door. Some of these guidelines try to kind of dive into things like being transparent on how much an event costs you and such, how much your commercial costs are. Like, how's that affected you since it's come out?
Yeah, so I thought a lot about it, and I read over a lot of this and tried to make sure I fully understand what it is they're saying, what it is they're recommending, and what I need to do in order to be ready for the changes that are going to go into effect this month. I believe on the 15th.
The 15th
is when
of
these
November.
Changes are effective.
Correct.
Yeah, and then as far as like the nice thing is, for not necessarily for me, but for major event organizers that have already announced events. If there was events that were happening, like major events, the rest of this year, they're fine. But anything happening in 2024, they need to go and apply for their licenses in order for those events to essentially be able to continue. And then really anyone else moving forward. And so I looked at this initially as guidelines for, what you should expect at every tournament, not just like a local, but every tournament should generally be giving you a similar or the same experience. And the one thing that really stood out to me, one of the statements that they said is organizers will make full efforts to create a community tournament that is friendly and welcoming to all. And they go on and list all the things that they won't tolerate. And basically, what they want us to do is provide an inclusive environment, which is what the lab has always been. So it wasn't like we had to do anything different. in that regard. And that's kind of like what Nintendo wants here, is they want standardization across all these events and make sure people are, everyone is accepting of you for regardless of anything, any reason at all.
As it should be,
and,
right?
And make sure these
games,
spaces,
we kind of want that.
As it should be, right? Yeah, absolutely. So some of the other things that stood out to me, especially like the question and answer section was kind of nice near the FAQ. But there's some things that definitely caught my eye. I think it was near the bottom. Hold on, I just want to refresh my memory here. I think the main thing that I remember reading out of there was how you can use their like the Nintendo, like you can't use their branding and logos and like any of that stuff anymore. They don't want you to use that. They kind of want you to have a little bit more creativity when it comes to your events. So you can't just say like Super Smash Brothers Ultimate Tournament. You have to have an event name.
Or Super Smash Con, right? Is probably going to have to end up changing, correct?
Yeah. Maybe they're just going to be SSC, and they already kind of have that branding. So, and everyone knows what SSC is. If the name of the event was just SSC, that's fine. We know what it means. It's like when KFC had to change. They went from Kentucky Fried Chicken. They're not Kentucky Fried Chicken. They're KFC now.
No, just KFC.
So that's fine, and I think they can make that work. But I think that was one of the biggest takeaways out of the FAQ section, was learning that if you want to advertise your event, you can say, I think you can say as much as like you might be able to get away with Smash. I don't think you can actually, because it's part of the name. But you have to have like a unique name. You can't use any of their logos anymore. But you can, however, use screenshots and like video and actual like game clips that you record. So that's the section right there.
Of anything officially released by Nintendo or officially in the game, i.e. don't think about using anything that's potentially modified in any way, shape, or form, or something leaked or anything like that. They will not tolerate that. They're not gonna find that fun at all.
What if a Pokeball makes it onto the screen though? No, I
don't know. Maybe you deal with the Pokemon company at that point for that one, right? Specifically, yes, Nintendo does own it, but
Nintendo would know. They'll see the render and they'll know, well, this is from Smash Ultimate or this is from Pokemon. So
I see.
But I don't think they want you to use any from any of the games, really.
It seems
I think
not.
It's kind of weird, because it's like, all right, well, if I can't use the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate logo on my event banner, can I just do a screenshot of the title screen? Because that has it's a screen. They say you can have a screenshot captured by Nintendo games. That's okay. So I can have a screenshot of the logo, the title screen for Smash Ultimate, which has the logo in it, and that's okay. But I can't have just the logo by itself. It's kind of weird that they're, I don't really know what to take away from that. But I'm just, at this point, we just got to do our best at following these guidelines to not get on their bad side. Do everything we can to protect the patrons and the attendees, and follow their guidelines as closely as we can.
So the fun part there is finding all the kind of like the gray area, because there was already talks like that from the beginning, with things like I stated earlier, right? 10,000 for an entire year is what you can do payout, and people were already trying to figure out like, oh, well, does that mean if you exceed that, what can you do? You can go, I don't know, maybe I'll donate to the top 3 players that did very well in the tournament, right? I'm not paying them out. I'm just donating to them, right? As the TO, right? This is where it starts. Like everyone, Smash is gonna have so many new lawyers, like people just going through the lawyer route, or maybe becoming that in the future. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's how'd you get into lawyer? How'd you get into law? Like, yeah, I used to run Smash tournaments. I had to learn. So I loved the law since then. I just dove in because I had to keep playing Nintendo's cat and mouse game. So I just became that good. It's what it seems like it's going on.
I mean, I definitely saw a couple little things that were like, they're vague on purpose.
Yes,
like
in true lawyer, written, documents. They're vague for a reason, because if they ever have to take it to court for any reason, have to take it to any kind of litigation, that's there to just be able to skew it to whatever direction it needs to go. Right.
Yeah, there was one that stood out. Another one that stood out to me where they said, individual organizers essentially can't provide like you said, a total in prize payouts more than 10,000 a year, but that's per individual. So what if you have this is what I was thinking about. Well, what if you had a group, maybe a team of TOs, and one TO had their tournaments, and then when they hit their $10,000 yearly cap, then next TO was the organizer running it. Like, so it's kind of like a little loophole within their own guidelines right there.
Moosh, I'm gonna hire you as my lawyer next time I get into some problems. All right, just give you a heads up there. Or you're already speaking. You're already speaking the lingo. You're like, well, you said verbatim one person, but if I had 4 people,
you
must dismiss this, judge.
That's exactly, and it says it right there. Total value of cash pricing a single organizer can offer through community tournaments in a 12-month period can be no more than the equivalent of 10K. So I can host tournaments and give out 10K, and then when I hit my cap, then Static Gorilla, maybe he wants to start hosting tournaments for the line. Sure.
There you go.
Or I have a team. I have a team under the Bros Calamity family, and we have about 4 or 5 organizers that help and rotate throughout for our Smash Ultimate specifically. But then we have our guys for Melee and 64, and we don't host as many or as large events with those games. I'm not too worried about those games. Not to mention, they're not even listed. If you look at what you could apply for, no game besides Nintendo Switch games you can apply for a license anyway.
This in itself is such a catch-22 because Nintendo's just not even allowing the older games to still be ran, or even if they, the games that, require that if you did want to run them, they would have to be on like official hardware and such. And it's like, that is already hard to do. Like, that is really hard to do. You're going to have to show up on disc on everything to make sure it works for some games, right? Like, because you can't even get some games on the Switch right now. So it's like, you're not giving us an avenue to do this, and yet you're giving us no options either to be able to. So it's like, it kind of feels like a rock and a hard place kind of deal.
Yeah. Super Smash Bros. Melee came out in 2001 and has never been ported to any other platform. And they're still the Smash community is really Ultimate and Melee. Those are the two groups that make up the Smash community. And you have your Brawl players, you have your Smash 4 players, you even have your mod players like P Plus and HDR, and then there's Smash 64, of course, and Smash Remix. But most of the players, you look at these big tournaments, it's Ultimate and it's Melee. And it's not really good for them.
And before you start thinking, oh, well, I'll just run it online, doing this, like, it states in verbatim in the documentation, you have to use official Nintendo servers and services in order to run that. Which, good luck. if you know Smash's online capabilities, the net play on it, it's a joke. It's a joke. So it's like just unplayable. So there are some tidbits here that definitely stood out. In terms of the actual what is it, the kind of, not the transparency, but I guess you could say the transparency, whether you have to disclose what the costs are for your events and such, like, is that something you've already come across at all when it comes to it? Because you've run a lot of events, like you said, you have plenty of organizers underneath and under the Bros Calamity entity, which, by the way, on that side, actually, I'll ask later on about that, but there's also even a set of rules for an organization versus a community event. There's different guidelines to be slated there, so I don't know if my follow-up was going to be if you've had to deal with either or. But right now, to the original question on disclosing all accounting related to the cost of hosting the event promptly, including entry fees, admission fees, and prizes distributed and posted them on a website or whatever, being accessible to everyone. Have you had to come across that right now? Or are you, not right now, are you expecting to?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be too hard to even accomplish, because as far as like announcing what the prize pots are, StartGG has a feature where you can just pop in how many entrants, what the prize pot was, and then the distribution between and it just auto-populate and it posts it right there. So that's very easy. Prize payouts, public, right on StartGG. I could even go as far as adding that information onto my top 8 graphics. Like, top 8, here's first place. He won, he or she or they, whatever. They won $150 and so forth. And actually putting the prize money listed right there. So that way we're open, and it says that we're supposed to disclose that. Right. Yeah, you got it right there. You got to disclose all that stuff. And then I can even easily say it was, the total number of attendees. I already have that on my top 8 graphic. I can just put in there $12 per player, and then you can just do the math right there. 50 people times 12. That's how much was generated. And then if they really want to know about what the costs are to operate the business and to operate, really in this case, if it was an organization, Bros Calamity, running in the laboratory, which is a venue, an entertainment venue, then sure, if they want to know the costs to operate, then I can easily put that out there. I'm not sure that they're really going to crack down on this one. This one I feel like is more to make sure that the big organizers who are running these larger events aren't basically making a lot of money. A killing. When they should really be organizations or groups applying for these licensing, which is really what they're kind of getting people.
I want to see them because I just want to see, because this is something that keeps happening like clockwork. There's like so many things that just happens in the fighting game community that just happens again and again and again. It's like, oh, it's another 5 years, time to bring up TO drama. Like, you're making a killing, you're doing this. Like, I would love to see this out there more because it's become much more publicly kind of said between bigger TOs like your Jabali's or whatever that are stating like, yo, it cost me this amount, like tens of thousands of dollars to include an internet service at this venue for those 3 days, 4 days, whatever. Super Smash Con would be another one that would be like, we'll disclose like, yo, it costs us this much to, and I want to see that because I feel like if that information is out there, people can kind of get that ideology, put it behind them, that is like, oh, TOs are really pocketing money, blah blah. It's like, no man, you'd be surprised. Like some of the biggest tournaments out here are maybe breaking even if they're lucky, right? If they're killing it, they might break even, and if they are killing it and doing better, that's probably going right back to cost anyway of maybe people that are volunteering, brought in their own stuff just to help out of passion, and maybe they're just helping out, and the TOs are like, yo, just take whatever, because it's not supposed to be a make or break situation for them in that case. So like I found that was interesting that they kind of went that route to kind of make it as transparent as possible, which I'm for. But I felt like some TOs might have felt like it might have been it felt intrusive. It's like, you want me to just say everything now? Like some TOs might be comfortable with it. Like you said, you're like, whatever, bro. I'll put it on my top 8 graphic. I got no problem. I got nothing to hide. While others might just be like, feel like, well, that's my business. Like, I don't want to put my business out there, whether it be because maybe they're killing, or maybe they are really, getting hit hard, and they just didn't want to make it seem like it's a burden to the community. Because look, I'm down another 10,000 this year, but it's all out of love, right? And sometimes that kind of that could be a hard truth to kind of make up to. Right.
And to kind of touch back on what you were just saying there, being, just posting that information, some people not feeling comfortable. One of the things, after reading this, one of the things that I thought about and very quickly came to the conclusion of is that the laboratory and Bros Calamity, or the venue and Smash tournaments, need to be two separate things. For me to be able to continue and doing what I'm doing, I need to differentiate and really stand out. The laboratory is an entertainment venue that happens to run video game tournaments. There's other things you come to the laboratory for. There's arcades, there's retro games, you hang out, you socialize, maybe sometimes we grab some food, grab some drinks. It's more than just come here for a tournament. So that's how
rent it out for
I
parties
feel like,
and stuff, right? Like private parties, you rent it out. You have other venues of actual income to come for the business.
Right. And if that's how I have to structure my business in order to not get shut down by Nintendo, by saying Bros Calamity rents the lab every Friday and they run Adventure Bears, which is a Smash Ultimate event, or happens that it's an event that includes a Smash Ultimate tournament. Sure, Bros Calamity rents it. They owe, they have to pay this amount in order to use the space, and they generate this much from venue proceeds. I can easily display it that way. If that's the way the lab has to operate, fine. But the laboratory is a business that needs to be able to succeed in order for us to continue to offer these events. So for me, it's been a little bit of a struggle and a little bit of a journey, thinking about it and talking about it with my wife. How do we proceed? How do we move forward what do we need to change, and how do we make sure Nintendo never comes at us. And as you see here, you're going to notice I still have some of the Smash logos there, like the Arcadian. There's the Smash Ultimate logo. That's got to go away. I've already updated the actual event pages. I've already added verbiage that they require. So if you were to pull up any of my Smash torrents, so for example, go to start.gg/BAIRS, or even just click on the link in here, scroll up just slightly for the one for Adventure Bears there. You'll notice there's no logo for Smash Ultimate, and the very first thing underneath there it says Nintendo is not a sponsor or affiliate, and that is required on every single event page according to what they said.
Yep, they do not want anything officially. They are not affiliated. They're not touching any tournaments that isn't otherwise stated by them in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
If I might, by the way, guys, bears means back airs. So when you jump in the air and you push a back air button, air attack button, that's what bears is. I'm just trying to put my 2 cents in.
There you go. BAIRS, in case you guys were confused. There you go.
Yep. Just a little history on that. Our event series started off as it was a We Bear Bears like parody, and so that's a cartoon on Cartoon Network, and we changed it to We Bear, like so it was We BARE Bears, but we made it We Bear, like we're giving you bears. And then it kind of went on after that to Codename Bears for Codename Kids Next Door, and then regular Bears for regular show, and now we're at Adventure Bears because we're clearly going on an adventure here. The Nintendo's taking us for a ride, and maybe even the venue might be changing, as we talked about before. Lab's been open for 8 years, and there might be a lot of big changes. So I think Adventure Bears was the most fitting now. So yeah, just a little history there. But yeah, I think. Go ahead.
Oh no, go on. Finish up your thought.
I was just gonna say you just kind of touch back what we were saying. I think that it's not going to be a challenging feat to display all that information, and really that's kind of the biggest one for me. Besides, the kind of limitations on some of like the modification mod games and stuff. I'm a little worried when it comes to running like P+ and HDR, which are mods of Smash games. But I'm also not, because at the same time, these events are going to happen regardless, and whether we have to, run them without publicly advertising them, we're still servicing a specific section of the FGC, being the Smash community. And if people want to play these games, we're going to play these games. Nintendo can't stop us from playing. They might be able to stop us from competing, but we're not going to stop playing any of these games, whether it be for fun or for money. Right. So it's like those are the things that like I worry a little bit about, but at the same time, like I said, we gotta still do what we came here to do, and that's play Smash.
Not to add more to worries, but there's just some things also that I felt were a little. I think they could be a little detrimental, but we were talking before the show where you kind of gave me the TLDR. You're like, yo, these guidelines are just for Nintendo to keep Nintendo safe. Which the more I've read them since, I agree. I agree with that sentiment even more. But one that kind of hit me that I was like very surprised was the no sponsor one, because we were just talking like how tight the headroom is for some of these, the overhead for these events, the budgets are, and sponsors, for those are not initiated, are a great way where they could find some support in some way, shape, or form. Nintendo's outright in here stated they're just like, no, you're not allowed to have any sponsors. Like ideally in the esports world, it's like, oh, you don't have sponsors that have messaging like alcohol, adult themes, gambling, stuff like that.
No gambling, right?
Like no gambling, stuff like that, right? Those are the usuals, which makes sense, right? It's video games; they cater from all different ages. You can't really have an umbrella, unless an umbrella kind of rule on that one. But the fact that you can't have any at all, even if they are, say, third-party controller, maybe suppliers, chaos controllers. Anyone that's
junk
creating
food
junk food arcade, or people that are built from this scene that they're that for that market, that target audience, like you just can't even make those kinds of talks. As far as I know, there could be some lawyer some lawyer foo in here that can let you bypass it a little bit for sure. Be like, oh, they're not sponsoring the event, they're sponsoring the venue. And maybe, maybe the lab is just sponsored by XOXO, and the lab just happens to have a bank on the side that is like, oh, I can do what I want with this money, and I'll just funnel it to events but not as a sponsor. I'm just donating it to the event, right? Like, but I feel like that's just so much work for something that doesn't need to be work. Like, in my opinion, once again, this is my humble opinion. I just don't think it helps. It just adds more hurdles that someone like yourself in your position has to go through in order to ensure, whether it be, to upgrade setups, or to maybe like you said, maybe you're changing the venue up a little bit and help, make it an even better experience, right? That inclusive experience that maybe it will help engage the audience or the people you're trying to, make sure they're having a great time. Hence by the, your not obligations, but what Nintendo's asking TOs to do here, right? Why make it harder for you?
Right. Yeah, and they don't even want us to sell snacks and water, so it's almost like.
Oh my God, that is unbelievable. F&B.
You blew them up.
F&B. You can't even get F&B because you don't understand, Static. Like F&B.
Oh, I get it.
People underestimate it. Yo, food and beverage is sometimes the damn cornerstone for some venues, events, productions to survive. I can't even get water in a hot ass place where I'm not saying the lab's here, but I have been into those nuts to butts situations where you're just crammed in a venue and you're just like, all right, I need to eat something or get something to drink, and they happen to have a refrigerator with Red Bull or water or something, and you're telling me that's a no-go? Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a little. That's absurd.
That's insane. That's a little wild.
So I don't think they're going to really be able to get away with it from, like, if let's say you're hosting a community event at a bar. Well, the bar is the venue, and the bar is allowed to sell alcohol and drinks, but the TOs, they don't want the TO to sell it, so it's like double dipping. You already got the money from their venue fees, and now you're using Nintendo's brand to lure them in and now make money off of whether, hot dogs or whatever. And I can see why they don't. I can see why they don't want people to do that, but at the same time, people need to hydrate. People need to. You're at these tournaments for 4+ hours at a time. You need to drink. You need to eat.
Yeah. This is as much. The mental stack will make the body tired. Trust. If anyone's actually done tournament runs, like you could be like mentally drained, and all of a sudden you realize your body is just gone, just because you may not be doing as much physical activity as you think, but it will drain the body and soul. It just will. Yeah. So if you ever, if you are selling F&B on the side and the first person cracks that soda in that corner, Nintendo police just pop in that door, just go. Who got a soda in here?
It's like the meme of the girls looking back at the one person, like, ugh.
Who did that? They're quick. I mean, good luck trying to enforce it. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but outside of seeing something on stream, maybe. But
so if I could, I did ask in our Discord. Actually, you answered some of my questions that I had, which was basically, what would you keep the same, or what have you already been doing? And pretty much, I felt like you've already been in good practice to stay within these guidelines as you did state. And I was gonna ask, what are you doing changing forward? Already you've got the Start GG. I almost said Smash GG, but Start GG already looking that way.
We know what it is.
Now I had Leonix, one of our his questions were basically pretty much answered, like, especially with you're gonna keep playing games at your venue if you need to. His question was like, has there been any actual talk of what Nintendo will actually try to enforce their demands, or like, do you conform to Nintendo's guidelines, or do you fight the powers that be? And pretty much I think we already touched base on those. He was asking more,
I'm gonna do whatever I can to not fight Nintendo, anything I possibly can to not go on their radar. But at the same time, like I said, when it comes to like Smash 64 and Smash Remix, I really don't think Nintendo cares at all. Like, they've re-released Smash 64 on the Wii, the WiiWare, before. That's but like
offline now, I think.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
It's like
that was a long time ago.
Yeah, right. Like,
and it's such a small community. We're talking like a major, and I host a major every year at the lab. The biggest that event has ever hit was like 90 entrants. That's a major in the Smash 64 community. Last year we had like 70 for that event. And we're going on seventh year in a row of doing this event. We'll probably hit like anywhere between 50 and 70, and that's a major. Nintendo does not care about that game.
Damn.
I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, like I said, like not coming up on their radar as much as I can, and like applying the little things that I need to do, being a little bit more transparent with proceeds and how the prize money gets distributed, and maybe branding events where it's. If you also look at my events, a lot of them are going to now say Adventure Bears presented by Bros Calamity, and maybe it'll say something like this is Delibird presents Adventure Bears. If it just means like a rebrand and a restructure on how I do my events, just to kind of get around what they want, and then again, like just following everything else as best I can, not charging too much. They don't want you to charge more than, they say $20 for entry fees, and they don't specify whether that means, is it that a 10 venue and a 10 pot fee, or is that 20 in total? Is the spectator fee part of the venue fee? So they don't really they give you really $35 max you could be drawing in, and they don't really specify how that can be applied. So I just kind of have to read what they say, nitpick it, and if they do come at me, make sure that I'm prepared to have the arguments like, well, this is actually what we're doing, not what you're saying.
And we pretty much already answered his question regarding Twitch and YouTube, like steering clear of Nintendo's gaze and basically streaming, or you just say screw it and roll the dice. I think screw it and roll the dice isn't the best. I think it's more of,
did they say we can't stream? So on all of my Start GGs, there are 2 agreement forms you have to agree on whenever you register. One is the Philadelphia Smash Code of Conduct. Just have to agree to our code of conduct in order to participate in our events. And the other is a waiver that basically is giving the lab and Bros Calamity the rights to your likeness. And that's everyone has to agree that, or they can't enter my events.
Yeah,
that's actually, it says right there. Please obtain permission from.
Exactly. Yeah. Question 7. Want to live stream the community on network services, YouTube? Is it possible? It's like, yeah, you got to obtain permission for participants beforehand. So basically, you're almost like just creating it within the paperwork, stating like, you sign here or you sign up to my tournament, you are giving me permission to post this up somewhere and monetize it, right? Because you have your YouTube channels, you can monetize on that, and that's the players are agreeing to that.
Yep.
But it's if you decide to monetize it, here's the one that's like was interesting. If you decide to monetize on your community tournament related posts such as videos and still images based on Nintendo game conduct guidelines for online video, image, and sharing platforms, they could not have made that fucking any longer. Please be aware of the limits on the total amount of revenue that you can earn from your posts as stated in these guidelines. So now there's also
10K a year as well.
So it's like, what if my stuff blows up? What if you just get a legendary match that you just like, it blows up, goes viral? It happens. And, not to say AdSense is a killer, but AdSense, hey, if you get a good amount of views, you could get some decent ad revenue from it. Like, is that detrimental now to it, or do you have to turn off monetization once you hit a cap? Like, this is that gray area lawyer talk that's just all in between the details. You got to read in between the lines and situations that you could create for yourself. That once again, I find a little unnecessary, to be honest. Like, it's not taking away revenue from you, Nintendo. It's doing the opposite. It's putting it in front of more people.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I've always looked at it like that as well. It's really a shame that they have this approach. It's really showing their greediness, unfortunately. They are a business after all, and I can totally understand.
Small business. Right? They're so tiny. They're just so tiny. Third party developer. Nobody knows them.
Right. Yeah. Right. But I think this one is geared more towards a bigger event organizer who's going to get the draw in, like maybe at like an Evo event, right, where you're going to get like millions of views, maybe for multiple VODs. Whereas someone even like VGBC with their Xanadu events, I don't think they exceed 10K a year in ad revenue from YouTube, right? But I could be completely off on that. That could be the part of their entire business model. But because like I've had a couple VODs that blew up. I think my most viewed is like almost 400K. And it was it's a really funny VOD. It's like a newer player, beginner. I would say like a lower skilled player versus a level 9 Kazuya. And the Kazuya, I'm not going to ruin it, but it's a very entertaining VOD. It was at like 380K, but it's probably only brought in like a few $100. Like it doesn't generate as much as you think.
No, it's very
the algorithms changed.
Yeah, YouTube ad revenues and such is much different now than it was like earlier. Yeah. So I feel like when Nintendo's basing some of it off of that, I'm like, it's not the same anymore, man. Like, it's not. You have to be so. You have to be hitting like Mr. Beast numbers to make that kind of money from back then. Now. Right. You're talking about posting a video every day that's getting millions of views, and that's just not happening. Like I'm posting 40, 50 VODs every Friday, but they're getting like 100 views max, and I'm lucky to pull in. If you know the way that the payout structure and the payout threshold works is on YouTube and Twitch, I'm lucky to get like a few $100s a year off of all of that combined between Twitch and YouTube. Of course, there's like TikTok and Fresh Cut now, which are other opportunities to make some ad revenue, but still, like the community organizers are not going to come close to the threshold. So that section there, I think the biggest thing is what Nintendo wants you to do is make sure you get your approval before you go and post these videos online and try and monetize, because if you're not, then you're using someone's likeness without their permission, and that's a Nintendo doesn't want to be involved in. They just don't want to be touched in any way, shape, or form. They don't want to be. So with all these guidelines that have kind of been put into place, have you come across any? Have you because TOs, you're talking with other TOs, your friends, you're often people you've known for a long time, because everyone has the same kind of shared passion. Have you seen or heard from other TOs that might have been affected from this, or have had any kind of instances, any kind of run-ins from Nintendo since kind of this has started? I know it's being applied later this month, but I wouldn't put it past Nintendo if you've already heard of a possible cease and desist somewhere, or maybe hey, you need to change this or else we'll have a problem when you actually do your event or something like that. I haven't run into anything like that. But I have talked to other TOs that were expressing their concern over this, and I helped reassure them. We talked about some my perspective, my ideas of things, and we kind of really just shared ideas, and I think it helped settle them a little bit, make sure that they felt a little bit more safe and comfortable that we're not going anywhere. Community, as long as we stand our ground, we've done it before. If you remember, Evo, was it 2013? When they stopped it all, stopped finals. When Melee was taken off, and the community, we got together, and then the casual gaming community heard about it, and they're like, you can't do this to us, and everybody band together and made Nintendo, kind of flipped that. If something like that happens, I have a feeling that some of the things we see in here are going to change. They won't be able to deal with the backlash if the community is loud enough. So and that's kind of what I said in simple words. It was more like, hey, we're all here together. We're not going anywhere. Let's just keep doing what we're doing, do the best we can, and help to reassure him that we're here together and we'll make it work. So with this, no cease and desist. No cease and desist. Awesome. Oh, not yet, right? We'll wait till that 23rd or 24th hits. Effective date 15th when that hits. That's actually next week. That's in a week from now. So we'll see. We'll see if Nintendo opens the gates afterwards. But so really, the biggest thing to kind of take away from this, and this is something we've preached on the show quite a bit over the years, because we've just seen it not just from Nintendo, but we talked before. Capcom to a degree has done that, right? With the Capcom license, they jumped on that. This is really just emphasizing a kind of unwritten rule, but it's kind of just the truth, is that the IP owners of the games that we enjoy, that we will travel nationally, internationally, or just play, locals, even in our schools. It's even funny enough, there's even a school segment of that in the community guidelines. It could go that deep, that the IP owners, they're the ones in power when it comes to this overarching competitive ruling. Past passion, past doing it for love of the game, for competition. Once money's involved, and now there's revenue that could be potentially put into the mix, they're the ones that can shape the landscape and say, you're not allowed to do this. we'll allow you only if you do this, and either you do it or, you know, if you don't like it, it is what it is, until, like you said earlier, maybe, you know, major change could happen because the community can come together to kind of overrule that, i.e. things like, you know, 2015 and such, like you said earlier with Melee. Like, this is just another lesson in kind of emphasizing that unwritten rule that they could do that. It could happen to anybody. Capcom tomorrow could be, could say something, could print out, could copy paste, change Nintendo to Capcom games on everything, get that Control F and find and replace and write that down, and, you know, they could do this. But yeah. You know, what should also come from that truth is that we shouldn't forget that, you know, it's still a two-way street, because, you know, as much as we are the community, the competitive community is a bit smaller, right? The competitive community is always smaller than the casual community, right? Let's just be real. That is a hard truth. As much as we have thousands and thousands of people that are doing this, that go to tournaments and all that, we are still a small amount compared to the overall market that they're selling to and the amount of people that are consuming their products. So, you know, it's a two-way street. We will continue playing their games well beyond the game's life, right? You know, N64, you know, Smash Bros 64 being a perfect example that is still going. By all intents and purposes, shouldn't, quote unquote, right? Shouldn't, but because of passion and love from the competitive people like yourself, Moosh, and everyone else that, you know, continue to put the game out there, stream it, create mods for it, VODs, tech videos probably to this day, still continue going and still basically put it out there for more people that have never experienced it to experience it today. You know, the companies, you know, recognize that and still should meet us halfway, and that's kind of like our side to also just, you know, see things like these guidelines as not just like bars or like a prison or, you know, some way of just not doing things, but just a way to kind of, like I said, meet us halfway to just have an understanding as to, you know, it is a property they're allowing us to use, and just not to, you know, not, it sounds weird, just not to cause trouble. They just don't want any trouble, right? Like at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's how I look at it too.
Well, that ends my TED Talk, I swear.
So I actually had one more, unless you had something to respond to that against Moosh.
It's something that you brought up, and I just remembered something they said. I wanted to bring this up, and I think this is kind of a hindrance slightly. But they did say that if there are any like collegiate level events, anything happening in colleges, it has to be restricted to students of that college. And I remember there was a tournament series. It's like C Star League. Remember Max Ketchum was the organizer involved. He's like a big commentator. He's a big his own event series now. Let's make moves. Let's make big moves. Max is like a pretty well-known figure and community member and commentator in the Smash community and the platform
College Star
community.
League, CSL.
Yeah, yep. So they did a tournament series. Yep, that was it. And he had us help out. And I just remember this tournament was so cool. And I thought this was going to be the next like level of like competitive Smash. And it was multiple colleges competing in a crew battle. And I remember DeBuzz was there from his New York, whatever college in New York he was, or whatever area he was from. And there's New Jersey colleges and Philly colleges. And they all competed in singles and then doubles, and then they had a crew battle. And it's like 5 from one college and 5 from another and 5 from another. And it's actually explicitly states that you can only have like a 1v1, like UPenn versus Drexel, as far as Philly. And it kind of limits what you can do. But on the flip side, if these organizations can, from representatives from these colleges can go and speak to Nintendo and get licensing, maybe they can do big events like that again. But for now, the events that happen at Temple and Drexel, they're going to be limited to just the students of that school. And I know they do free tournaments. According to these guidelines, that can't operate. They can't have people from outside the school come anymore. And I think that's kind of hurting the community, because if they have a community space, like I always remember the Temple break room for FGC was always a big thing. I know Smashers use it. Yeah. And it's kind of it's sad to see that might be limited and may even go away, or may become something completely different, or it's just a space just for those students, and it's like a little bit more intimate, where no outside people are coming in, and it makes it a little bit not as competitive. But that's still okay if it can still continue that way. But I just don't like seeing something like that where here's a potential opportunity for growth within the community, within the FGC and the Smash community specifically in this case, and Nintendo's kind of putting the axe to that.
Yeah, I think a part of it could also be, still in a sense of trying to create a barrier, but not in. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm defending everything, but I can kind of see the logic in some of it where, like, you remember the temple sessions, right?
Oh yeah.
How this isn't all communities. This is just, this is not a reflection of everyone, but how crazy did sometimes those sessions get where there was so many people that weren't part of temple would show up, and campus security, or some people got worried because they're like, who are these randos that are now coming to the libraries or to the session spots that we're at, and there was like getting packed. It's like, are these students? And they're like, in an area that is supposed to be meant for students, and it's kind of like, the rule kind of helps mitigate that potential risk, right? And once again, they're trying to mitigate a risk where they just don't want a bad situation happen, and then Nintendo's name is somewhere in the mix there. Right, like it's right. Understandable, but at the same time, there is a detriment to competitiveness that it hits naturally too. But this also might not be the end all be all. That's the one thing I kind of want to also to kind of close this out on is, this is just like I can see this could be revision 1 of these rules. There's no reason why there couldn't be a version 2. Right, in the future that adjusts over time, right, after they see what maybe year 1 is like, and they realize, okay, cool, we got a good baseline, blah blah blah, and maybe they will revisit it in the future. I'm knocking on wood. It's not real wood, but it is what I got. Sorry guys. In the future that it might change, but for year 1, you got to try things, right? You have to try. If you're gonna go for it, I'm glad they're at least they've kind of just laid it all out there for you to see, and not, it's still in gray, right? Still in lawyer speak, but it's still there where, smart individuals like yourself, Moosh, and other TOs and such can help kind of others tiptoe around to make sure things can still go on and still be obviously on the good side of things, but, and adhere to things, but at the same time still create that inclusive area, for competition, for being passionate about it, that basically started it for all of you to begin with, right?
Yeah.
So with that, Static, I don't know, Static, you got something else? Got your hand up?
So I had one last question that one of our community members did ask about, was from Gingerfield. What has been, now it's a totally different topic, by the way, but it's still TO. He said, what has been the most heartwarming memory they have that you've been of being as a TO? And sure, we focus on hype plays and such, but what moment felt the most like soul touching to you as a TO and as a player?
Yeah, I think it happens a lot. Happens about once a quarter at the lab we do these Arcadian events, and Arcadians is like amateur tournaments. And whenever a up and coming player wins, just seeing the reaction, now everybody appreciating that player. They're rewarded with a large prize pool. Like, it's just really, it's a great thing to see. I made this event happen for that person, and now they have this memory forever. The event they won, and everybody cheered them on, and this always happens to it. Every Arcadian, whoever wins the Arcadian, often then very quickly jumps up the rank and eventually becomes a ranked player. And that's usually how it goes. They're usually an up and coming, or it gives them that motivation. So just seeing and watching that all unfold and seeing that happen, in my space about once a quarter is very, very humbling, and one of my favorite things that I get to be a part of, once a season, just about.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's a very selfless endeavor. You're doing it to help others. I feel sometimes TOs are underappreciated. You'll realize a lot of work, a lot of passion goes into it, but they're doing it out of love, right? Out of who's going to be the next person that, can find a way or find growth or find meaning, even at times, to just do it. And for them to do it at your event is a very, very humbling experience. So right. You can't see my eyes, but I'm doing this with you, man. I got you. I see you. For sure.
I always say that TOs make a sacrifice. The TO sacrifice is that we don't get to compete like the regular competitor. I want to play and compete in these games too, but I can't play casuals and warm up. I got to run the tournament. I got to make sure things are okay. There's a problem with the setup. I got to go make sure I'm there for that. So I sacrifice my time to, warm up and be better prepared to compete in order to provide the space and provide the events that everyone gets to enjoy. So that's the TO sacrifice that we all make.
Perfect. Well, I personally remember Blazikus winning that one time and everybody being on him and that whole thing. That was years ago. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Certain events like that, and who knows? Maybe I'll win my first Vortex and/or Lab event one day.
One day.
So yeah,
one day.
So that's
one day. Study.
Yeah, that's the hope. That's what keeps me driving there. So then hope that when I win, it'll be like, oh, I'm done. No. You're crazy.
You'll never come back. You'll never come back. Like, yeah, I'm done. I'm out of here.
That's awesome.
Good times, good people, and good experiences is what it's at, and that's what we're gonna end up on this interview. Moosh, I want to say first of all, thank you very much for taking the time once again to sit down and talk with us and talk real talk about this, and what our fellow, I know we cover Smash as much as we can when things are going down, but you guys are always, I know there's always the debate, oh, Smash not FGC. I'm like, bro, trust, we are in the same trenches. It just looks a little different, but it's the same damn trenches. It's the same passion. It's the same love. It's the same competition. So I do want to say once again, thank you once again for coming through and sitting down with us on this.
Thank you so much for having me. This was very enjoyable and good to talk about. So really appreciate the opportunity to come and chat with you guys.
For sure. So in the meantime, though, before we do head out, please let everybody know about the lab. Give us the lowdown on the events, what you're doing, where it's at. So listeners, if they come by, we got listeners local and far. What's going on with you?
Yeah, so we're open Tuesday through Saturday. Tuesdays, Super Smash Bros. Melee. Wednesdays, we do a little bit of a rotating event schedule. This one is I think that banner needs to be updated. Our Wednesday event kind of rotates and changes all the time.
Okay, there you go.
Thursdays is your traditional FGC event. Yeah, that's fine. You can leave that one up though. It kind of shows everything else that's going on.
Cool.
Thursdays is the FGC event, so Street Fighter. They're playing Mortal Kombat right now, right? And
they're live
they have a rotating schedule. They have like their main games, and then whatever is like popular in Philly. Obviously, Street Fighter 6. Obviously, when Tekken 8 comes out, that's going to be in there. And then there's a rotating schedule. They even got Marvel 3 in the mix, and I'm really happy about that. I'm sure Gabe is too. Yeah. Fridays, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Saturdays, it's our monthly day, so there could be an FGC monthly. We got one coming up where it's going to, at the end of this month, last Saturday of the month, will be Mario Kart, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Smash 4, just some other like casual games. Sometimes we do Splatoon. But for the most part, as you see, Super Smash Brothers, FGC, traditional fighting games. That's what we do. That's our events.
All right, and where can they find you at? Of course.
Yeah. If you want to, honestly, I don't even remember what my Twitter is. I think it's Moosh to Moosh.
It's above your name.
You can find me.
Yeah, Moosh to Moosh. There you go.
Yeah, but that is my Twitter. Yeah. Yeah. That is my Twitter. Actually, yeah. You can find me at Moosh to Moosh. I honestly follow Bros Calamity at Bros_Calamity. That's where I post all of our top 8 graphics and any upcoming events. You can even see the pin post on there. Probably is going to have. You scroll down a little bit more, you'll see the pin right there. There's all the events happening this month at the lab. I usually do something like that so you can see what we're doing on the weekends. Definitely follow that one to stay up to date on all the things that we're doing at the laboratory, Smash related. That's us. Right here in Hatboro.
There you go, right there in Hatboro. So if you're by, grab a cheesesteak, make a trip over. If you're over in Philly, it's a hop skip away. Won't take no time at all. Tri-State area, everything. It is a spot definitely worth going. One of my favorites to go to. But that is going to be it for this interview here. We're actually going to be sending it right back to the live show to Future Crash or Future Static, whoever's going to transition us out. But once again, Moosh, thank you very much for hanging out with us. Enjoy the rest of the show, guys. And make sure to go check out the lab once again. Till then, see y'all in like 2 seconds when we're back live. Later. Damn, that is a handsome guy. Also, Static and Moosh are okay in there. No, but seriously. No, but shout outs to Moosh for coming through. If you haven't already, man, it was awesome to have him on. Make sure to go follow him. Go follow the lab as well. It's a great venue. It's a great event, and they support so many different events out there. Static's privy to being, one of the common Pokemon that show up there. He's pretty wild out there. And Meza does the occasional,
I'll probably be there for Grand Blue.
Through. Yeah, exactly.
Well, they got BB Tag next time, so I'm probably going to show up for that.
There you go. But yeah, once again, shout out to Moosh.
Once a month. Yeah.
Shout out to Moosh. It was great talking and kind of getting those insights from someone that the Nintendo guidelines actually do affect pretty directly. But it was great to actually hear it from those that are hard in the trenches. Because we're not the TOs, we're not the ones that are doing that, or the venue operators. Cats like him are the ones that have to deal with that, as well as a slew of other TOs and awesome community members that are supporting the games that they love, regardless. But all love there. We appreciate him taking the time, and also happy belated, homie. I know it was like your birthday after that interview, so happy belated to him. To another year of events, to another year of being around. All right. With that's actually going to wrap us up, but it does bring us to kind of like the last piece, which is, of course, some questions I want to give you guys about that interview that went down. So our question for the week this week, which will be posted up on Spotify, it will be posted up on Twitter. It'll also be posted up on our Discord. So make sure to stick around to hear how you can get involved there. But I've posed a question to you guys. If you could change one thing out of that entirety of the Nintendo community guideline that they posted up, the entire doc, if you could change one rule or aspect of it, what would you change? Would you change up the amount of fees that you're allowed to take in? Would you change up maybe the sponsorship rules? Would you change up how much money you can pay out? Let us know. Or maybe there's a completely different angle you guys want to take up at. Let us know what it is. Once again, this will be posted up on Spotify. It will be on Twitter, and it will be in our Discord. So if you want to get involved, get your answer in there. We would love to hear your feedback, because we'll talk about it in the following episode. And for our poll, which will be posted up on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, and on Spotify, is, do you think that the Nintendo community guidelines are going to be a positive effect to the community in the long run? Right, where this is still first year, this is still very fresh. We don't know if there's, Nintendo's trying to kind of, at least they're kind of meeting us halfway, right? They could have straight up shut everything down, but having this kind of line, the licensing system, this and that in there, do you think it's actually going to be positive in the long run, after all this dust has settled? So let us know. It's a yes or a no. That's going to be a bit more of a simple one, but if you want to give us some details on things like the guidelines, like I said, that you'd want to change, check out the question of the week. But with that's actually going to wrap us up this week on this episode of Double Tap. We appreciate y'all hanging here with us. And once again, shout outs to Moosh for coming on and giving us some time for that interview. Make sure to follow us at Double Tap FGC on all social media platforms. We do cut up segments of this show, this episode, and they will be live on YouTube as well at Double Tap FGC. So make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can get notified when we do get new segments on. And you can also watch the podcast in its full entirety on there as well, if you got time to not just listen but to watch, get some of the visuals, some of the things that we talk about, and get some more of the eyes on there, because sometimes we get visual, we get too descriptive, or don't get descriptive enough, and we're just in the moment. You can check out the video, of course. And hey, make sure to follow my awesome hosts. We got Static Grill, of course, at Static Grill on all social media platforms, as well as Twitch, where he's streaming his tournament runs. Sometimes we'll occasionally show up at the lab, commentating or playing, either or. Yes,
all of the above.
All the above. And then, of course, we've got Meza at Meza FGC on all social media platforms, as well as Twitch. He's back on it. He's still there on the grind. I don't know what else to tell you on that one. You're just doing your thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I got my season 1 championships for Nightfall coming up for DFO.
There you go. Yeah.
December 17th. And we got a tournament this week to round it all off. They're doing double points. So kind of curious to see how the stats change. Everybody's kind of getting back from Korea. So we'll see.
There you go. All right. So, hey, once again, guys, if you want to join our awesome community, come say what's up. Come join with the community question. We do post it up in our Discord. Come join us at mash.gg/Discord. Get an awesome FGC tag. Come say what's up. Come be the new challenger in the Discord with all these awesome other community members that are doing some great things. We post up articles. We have discussions on there, and some of those also lead into the show or come from the show, and we kind of continue on there. I'd love to get you guys in there. It's an awesome environment. All love in there. We're open for everybody to come through and say what's up. And, of course, you guys can support the show via Twitter. Post it up, like it, retweeting it, commentating on it. whatever you're liking, whenever a new episode comes through every Tuesday. We do post up throughout the week. But hey, like I said, liking, retweeting, or tagging somebody you might think might like this show. Let them know. Hit them on that @ and put us down. We'll say what's up. We're always down to clown. And comments also help a lot. We are very, very active with our YouTube comment systems. We kind of don't let any of them fly by. We like to have that communication with you guys. You guys have some awesome things to say, and we always love to hear your point of views as well. So make sure to come say what's up there as well. But that's gonna be it for this week, guys. We're gonna be a new episode next week, of course, Monday 8:30 Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/double tap, and of course a new episode that following Tuesday. I've been Crash, that's been Static, that's been Meza, that was Moosh earlier, and this is us heading out. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.